Good evening, and welcome to Viterbo University. Please silence your cell phones. Thank you for joining us on this special occasion. We celebrate 2 anniversaries this year. As many of you know, this is the 125th anniversary of the founding of Viterbo by the Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration in 1890. What many of you may not know, this year is the 10th anniversary of the Holocaust Survivor Lecture Series. These amazing women and men have captivated us. They have marched into our hearts, and they never leave. These presentations are made possible by the generous benefactors who support the Reinhart Institute for Ethics in Leadership. The Institute is indeed a gift to the university and to our community. We especially thank the Reinhart family for endowing the Institute, and we are grateful to many other benefactors for their support. Tonight, we have another treat in store for our community. Eva Schloss has a special story to share with us, and we are so grateful for her presentations yesterday, tonight, and tomorrow. Our decade series of lectures by Holocaust survivors would not be possible without the tenacious dedication of Daryl Klott. Please join me in thanking Holocaust educators and friends. Daryl will join us shortly to introduce our speaker. Now it is my pleasure to invite you to enjoy a special musical performance by Carla Hughes, Assistant Professor in the Department of Theater and Music Theater. She is supported and assisted by colleagues and students from the College of Arts and Letters and the School of Fine Arts, whose names appear in the program.
Prospectus and Guide to the Secret Annex, a unique facility for the temporary accommodations of Jews and other dispossessed persons. Price free, diet low fat. Now our annex has truly become a secret. A bookcase has been built in front of the entrance. It swings on hinges and opens like a door. It is open all year round, located in beautiful, quiet, wooded surroundings in the heart of Amsterdam. Inside, it is necessary to speak softly at all times. Singing is permissible, only softly, and after 6 p.m.
Good evening. I am Daryl Klott, and I have the very best job on the face of the earth. I am a teacher. And I am proud to say, thank you. I'm proud to say that I'm a Holocaust educator. Before I begin, I want to let you know that WKBT, which is Channel 8, will rebroadcast tonight's presentation later, May 3rd at 11:05 p.m. So you can record it if you want to rewatch it, or watch it, I should say, or if you want to share this information with people who could not be here tonight. Again, WKBT, May 3rd, 11:05 p.m. I also want to mention, to be sure and stop in our lobby and view our Transfer of Memory exhibit, which is an exhibit of 41 Holocaust survivors and their stories. You probably saw it when you came in. It came from the Minnesota Jewish Community Relations Council, and it'll be here till the end of March. It's definitely worthwhile to see. We're very fortunate to be here tonight, for we are about to touch history. Not to mention the fact that you got a ticket. They are golden. They sold out when they went on sale to the public on February 2nd. This year marks a decade that Viterbo has been involved in Holocaust education. First, through our Holocaust Educators Workshop, and I cannot believe that the one we're running right now, today and tomorrow, is number 9, beginning in 2007. I would like all of the educators and that are participants in our workshop, and also the presenters, to please stand up. Teachers, I especially want to thank you for educating your students about what happens when people fail to accept other people's differences, or if they remain bystanders when they see an injustice occur. The other arm of our Holocaust education program is bringing Holocaust speakers, mainly survivors, to our community. Eva will be number 15, and of them, 13 have been our survivors. There are 2 people who have made this program possible, and they deserve our thanks. First is Rick Kite. I don't know where he is. You'll see him later. Rick. In 2004, I retired from La Crescent High School, where I had been bringing in Holocaust survivors. I'd been asked to teach history of the Holocaust at Viterbo, and I didn't want to lose the momentum that we had built. So I called Rick, whom I did not know. I explained what I'd been doing at La Crescent, and I asked him if he was interested in bringing survivors to Viterbo. And I also mentioned that if he wasn't interested, I was going to UWL with my idea. He told me I better come in and meet him. I did, and I swear his life has never been the same. I keep coming up with ideas, and he keeps saying yes. And I want to thank Rick, wherever you are, thanks for making my dreams come true, and for everything you do to promote Holocaust education. The other person is my husband, Marv, or Marvelous, as many people call him, for good reasons. Where are you, Marvelous? He's hiding. When Holocaust speakers come to our community, Marv is their official chauffeur. He takes them back and forth from their hotel to Viterbo, to their media interviews, and every other place they need to go. He cooks for them, and he serves them meals in our home, and he will chauffeur Eva and me when we go on the road next week, as she presents at other universities. He also puts up with my last-minute panic attacks whenever we're putting on an event like this. Thank you, Marv. Many people have asked me, how on earth how did you find Eva? You know, how did this happen? And so I'm going to tell you, because it's kind of a long, it's not a long story, but it's a nice story. A year ago in January, I co-directed the play, And Then They Came for Me, Remembering the World of Anne Frank, for the Appleseed Community Theater. I didn't want to do it because I'm not a real director, but they got a wonderful co-director, Chrissy Moulton, who actually knew what she was doing. We made quite a team, and it turned out to be one of the most significant events of my entire life. The play was about Anne Frank and two teenagers who lived in the same neighborhood as the Franks in Amsterdam, and they were friends of theirs. Shortly, you're going to meet one of them, Eva Geiringer Schloss. I managed to locate Eva at her home in London, and for 6 weeks during rehearsals, I called her for asking for pertinent information that I could share with the cast. Then Mar suggested that we ask Eva to come to Viterbo. I called her, and I asked her to come on March 26, 2015, and the first thing she said to me was, "Isn't there snow in Wisconsin in March, Daryl?" And I replied, "Sometimes." It took me 5 months of gentle persuasion, a trip to Florida that Marv and I made to meet her when she was speaking there in February, along with a visit to Eva from Rabbi Simcha and Karen Prombaum's son, Levi, who's studying in London. Levi went to visit her and sang the praises of lacrosse and told her all about the thriving Holocaust education program we have here. And in June, she finally accepted our invitation. A huge thank you goes out to the Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration and their prayer partners who've been praying around the clock for 137 years for prayer requests that come in from all over the world. They've been praying for Eva for 14 months. First, that she would accept the invitation, and since June, that she and her husband Zvi would remain healthy so she could come to us. Never underestimate the power of prayer. I've been blessed to study with some of the most brilliant Holocaust survivors in the world, and they fill our heads with important information. But Holocaust survivors fill our hearts. Survivors teach us much more than any textbook can. They are living documents. Eva Schloss is a remarkable human being. Since 1986, she's traveled the world teaching people about the Holocaust and helping other people understand that we are capable of overcoming the most difficult circumstances. And now, prepare to fall in love. It is my privilege to introduce my newest friend, Eva Schloss.
Wow.
I just want to say hello everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm not really so difficult to get hold of. But in this case, I didn't want to plan in so long advance. You know, at my age, you never know. But anyway, I'm very happy to be here. And you know, when I started to speak, I always had to take a tranquilizer. And I haven't done this for a long, many years. But today, I could use one.
Thank you, Eva, for that information. Okay, the interview begins. And I feel like I'm about to interview the Queen of England or something. Eva, you had a happy family life in Vienna, and then you and your family was forced to move to Brazil. Wouldn't have that been fun? Move to...
I wish we had to.
Have you ever been to Brazil?
Yes. I wish we had moved to Brazil, then we would have lost our family.
And then from Vienna, you went to Brussels, and then Amsterdam. Could you walk us through your early years, please?
Well, we were an ordinary middle-class family. Oh dear. Jewish, not very religious, but very happy. I had an older brother, we had grandparents, aunts, uncles, quite an extended family. We were a middle-class family, but nevertheless, you know, at that time, we had a housekeeper who did the cooking. We had once a week, a woman came to do the washing, and also once a month, a woman came to do sewing. So my mother, she married when she was 18 years old. She was actually a schoolgirl. My father married her just when she finished school. And we were very happy, you know, a very young family, and I turned out to be a tomboy. My brother was much gentler. I should have been the boy and he's a girl. And so my father and me were really the wild ones in the family. We went mountaineering in the winter, in the summer, and skiing in the winter, and I was very, very happy. And all this collapsed the minute the Nazis came in. I was 9 years old, and that was when I experienced my first anti-Semitism. Before we had mixed Friends, Catholics. Austria was a very Catholic country, and nobody asked what you were. But in Austria and Germany, you had to have religious education in school. So the Catholic children stayed in the class, and the Jewish children were taken out, and we had Jewish education in another classroom, which meant that everybody knew who was a Jew. And so this was, as soon as the Nazis came in, life changed, but really immediately. The Austrians, who obviously there must have been dormant anti-Semitics, really took it out on us. And I became shy, withdrawn, and my father was very, very lucky. He went immediately on a business trip, not intending to come back, so to the Netherlands. And when we wanted to follow, the Dutch had closed the borders as well. So we had to go to Brussels. We heard that you could go illegally over the border. That is something perhaps in America you don't know. Well, you might know it from Mexico. But in England, of course, this happens all the time. We have a lot of people who get smuggled into the country. But once you are in Belgium, you could stay. But, you know, suddenly we were reduced to living in a little boarding house. We had 2 tiny little rooms. My mother didn't have a kitchen. We took meals in a room. It was quite primitive, quite simple. And it was quite a shock. And as well, I didn't speak a word of French. That was as well very, very difficult. And I lost all my confidence and was actually very, very miserable. Do you want to ask to go a bit further, or?
I'd like to ask you to please talk about your friendship with Anne Frank.
Well, that comes a little bit later. In the meantime, the Nazis went into Czechoslovakia and then into Poland, and France and England declared war. And in war, of course, borders are going to be closed, and my father had tried continuously to get a visa for us to join him in the Netherlands. And in February 1940, already in the war, he got a visa for us to visit him for 3 months in Amsterdam. And he took a furnished apartment. That's very important, because we had nothing. And it was on a sort of a triangle. There were apartments on both sides, and in the middle was a skyscraper, the only big building in Amsterdam at the time. Everybody knew where that was. And in apartments, of course, you have no yards for children to play. So all the children came on this open space after school to play. And even the children from the neighborhood. And one day a little girl came to me and introduced herself, very polite, brought up. Her name was Anne Frank. Of course, at that time, I had many other little girl friends, and she was nothing special. But I did notice that she was quite forward. She wanted to be the center of attention always. We had steps going up to the apartments, and she always sat on top and wanted a whole group of kids to come around, and she always told stories. She had as well, she could dislocate her shoulder, and she was like a clown. She said, "Now, silence, you listen carefully," and it was a bit louder than this. Her shoulder went out of the joint, and she could put it back in again, and everybody had to clap. She was really a showman about that. And at school, she went actually to a Montessori school, so we would have been in the same class, but I was in an ordinary school. So Otto, her father, obviously had seen that she was a little bit different, perhaps needed special attention. But at school, she didn't stop talking. And her nickname was Mrs. Quack Quack. And very often she had to stay behind and write, I don't know if you still do that, to write 100 times a line. I'm not going to talk so much in school. But it didn't last very long. The next week, again, she started talking and had to stay behind again. And as well, we were 11 years old when we met. She was actually just 1 month younger than me. And already interested in boys. And in her diary, she writes about this as well. Quite a flirt, very interested in her hairstyle and in her clothes, quite vain. And I, being a tomboy, didn't really care what I wore, and so still I'm not very fussy about that. And so when I told her, that she told me she had an older sister, and I told her, well, I've got an older brother, and she couldn't wait to come and visit us in our apartment. But my brother was not really interested in little girls like that at the time. So for 2 years, we knew each other, we were friends, not best friends, as I said, because she was quite a different type from me, but nevertheless, we saw each other every day. And one day, in the beginning, she took me up to her apartment to meet her family. And because I didn't speak much Dutch yet, and so she told me her father will speak German with me, which she didn't. And so that is when I met Otto Frank and her mother and her sister. Not expecting, of course, that what a wonderful close relationship I will have later with her father. But that comes much later.
I know that the Frank family went into hiding about the same time that your family did, and you were in hiding for 2 years and were betrayed and sent to Auschwitz. Tell us about the moment you were caught, your 15th birthday, right? 15th birthday, May 11th. Tell us about that experience of being caught and put on the train.
Yes, well, I must just tell a little, it's not so good, huh? I'll try again. I must tell a little bit. In 1940, in May, so after we had been there 3 months, and it was more or less time for us to go back to Brussels, the Germans invaded Holland. And there was no way out anymore. We were trapped. And in the occupation, of course, measures against the Jewish people became first acceptable, but later quite dangerous. One of the terrible things, for instance, was that we had to go to Jewish schools, which by itself is okay. But the Germans knew there were Jewish kids there, and they came very often with trucks, went into classroom, took the children away, and in the evenings the parents waited for the children to come home, and they never turned up. So they went to first to the local police, and then to the Nazis even, to find out where were their children. They never got any information, and only after the war did one hear that they were sent to Mauthausen, which was one of the most horrific Austrian death camps, and they were just thrown down from the cliffs. So you can imagine how scary it was to go to school, to go shopping. We had to wear, of course, a yellow star, which means that every Nazi who saw you walking, if he was in a bad mood, if he didn't like your face, could just arrest you and you could disappear. And at that time, they cordoned off a part of Amsterdam and arrested 10,000 Jewish boys and men, and they as well disappeared and were murdered in Mauthausen. So it became really scary just to go out the street. So each time we were still together as a family in the evening, we were sort of satisfied. And so we lived in fear for 2 years, and then in 1942, about 10,000 young people between the age of about 16 and 25 got a call-up notice to be deported to Germany to work in German factories. And that was the time when many parents decided they wouldn't send their children, but we would go into hiding. So Heinz, my brother, got this, and Margot, Anne's sister. And we were dependent on wonderful Dutch people, which we didn't even know, but who had joined the resistance, and they as well offered places to Jewish families in their homes to keep us safe. So one evening our father called us together and said, time has come now to disappear. And he told me that unfortunately we couldn't all go together because the apartments in Holland are actually quite small and nobody wanted to take in a family of 4. So we had to split up again. I tried to resist that. I was very much attached to my father and brother, and I said, no, can't we stay together? And my father explained, if we are in separate places, the chance for 2 of us to survive is much bigger. That was really the first time, I was just 13, that I realized it is a